How about talking about one that talks about mastering the art of curiosity? Ergo this. Well, funnily enough, I've got a real life story. I've just come from my morning routine, going to a cafe, etc. And I'm sitting there working on my iPad, doing what I'm doing. You know, I've got my iPad looking like this. Someone comes and sits down in front of me. She's got a cap on, sits down, looks pretty cool, opens up a laptop. I'm working away, ignore it. I'm deep down doing what I'm doing. And then I get up to walk past her to go to the bathroom. And I happen to notice, and I don't do this, I don't read what's on other people's screens, but just goes to show you, I happen to notice that there's a title on the work she's doing, and it's called Aging with Grace is the title of her document. And some of my client work over the last 10 years has been in what they call healthy aging. So what are the requirements for you to turn 50 plus living, and how do you continue to thrive and keep doing what you love doing as long as you can, as well as you can? And so we've been exploring that for lots of tech companies, nutrition companies, mindfulness companies, etc. So of course I'm really curious about that. I just happened to walk past and see it. So what I'll do with that, I come back from the bathroom and I start to pack, it's time for me to go, and I pack up and I went, oh. So I tapped her on the shoulder and said, look, absolutely, excuse me, I'm not in the habit of reading other people's stuff or whatever, but I happened to notice this one word called aging. I didn't say that I'd read the whole headline, but I said aging, and it happens to be that I've worked in aging and innovation around the world. I'm just really curious about that with you. About 20 minutes later, we finished this call. I've got her web address, I've got her email, she's got mine. We're going to talk about something. It seems she's deep in the world of health and well-being and meditation, and she's got a yoga practice and a yoga studio. And as it turns out, I was just there to help and serve and understand what she's doing, but she wants me to come do a talk in her practice to her people about creativity. She's got month-by-month themes, and one of them's coming up is about creativity, so I might be able to, help her out there and talk to her about what I'm doing and what we've got to offer. And as importantly, she's got a practice here in the north of this country, and then in the south of this country, in the South Island, a friend of mine who was a yoga teacher and had a yoga practice and stopped doing that, she is looking to maybe get back into it. Isn't sure, doesn't have a structure around her. She's only one thing, she'd rather do it bigger. And so I'm going to connect them up. And so from that, a little bit of a curious moment, sitting down, tapping someone on the shoulder, introducing myself, having an amazing serendipitous moment of connection has come definitely something from that. So, the power of curiosity, let's get into it. So, because it is something that I live and breathe every day. I know that, the first thing to say about curiosity is we say, and it is proven, it's how we feed our creativity. So in BIF, in our BIF People program for enterprises, rather than teach and educate and develop new capabilities around, techniques to try and trick the brain to be creative, we talk about this journey of learning to think creatively, and then apply that, do creativity, which is doing innovation, apply creativity, and then, be creative, so that you can just start to when and how you need to be on a daily basis. So it's not parked up in the context of a special moment, a brainstorm, a thing. It's actually a way of being every day that can add new value. So we're going to talk about that now. Actually, I wrote this little post this week on LinkedIn, and every now and then you write something, you go, I quite like the way that sounds. I don't know if anyone else does. And I said about how, this notion of being creative in the world, I'm really struck by how creativity is coming back. There's lots of places researching it, talking to enterprises around the world, and they're now saying creativity is the number one skill they're looking for, because artificial intelligence, automation, data technology, robotics, etc. We can keep saying this, and I'm going to keep saying it. Whatever can be codified is being, whatever can be digitized and automated is being. What does that leave for us humans? It leaves creativity. It leaves, as Nick Cave talks about, this kind of transcendental creativity. So yes, ChatGPT is brilliant for coming up with ideas in terms of pattern ideas, joining disparate points of data to start to stimulate your thinking. The kind of creativity we're talking about, BIF talks about, this thinking, doing, and being creative, comes from our lived experience. Machines don't live. They're pattern recognition. That's what machine learning is. It's pattern recognition. And if we know how to be curious, we can feed our creativity in such a way that we come up with such stunning breakthrough thoughts and ideas that are not just about joining different patterns together. They're disparate, multi-dimensional points of data coming together that this machine, this network of neurons that make up our brain that do things that we still don't deeply understand. Science still doesn't deeply understand exactly how this works. But if you use your curiosity to feed your deep creativity, and then let that settle, and then make time to allow for those thoughts and ideas to surface, they will be breakthrough, new thoughts and ideas way beyond anything that ChatGPT can currently create. Let's hope it never gets there. Let's hope we can never codify exactly what is happening in more of a spiritual, transcendental realm for those thoughts and ideas that just come to us from God knows where. You can't say. That's why we never use the word generate in any of our materials. At least I hope we don't. I've got a hard and fast rule about that, because when you know how to use something like your talent for curiosity, you don't need to generate anything. You just trust that that deeper creative talent that you have is making those new connections, both the new stuff that the curiosity is allowing to come in, and the data and resource and experiences of you that's already there, joining those together to come up with new thoughts and ideas. Stunning new thoughts and ideas that you don't have to cognitively generate to try and come up with. If you allow time, they will surface and be there waiting for you when you connect with that space again. So what that suggests is, for curiosity and being curious, it's a different kind of way of thinking, it's a different kind of way of doing, and it's a different kind of way of being than how we normally are. So how we normally are is we're normally of a closed mindset. We're using the experience of what we've already got stored, learned, developed capacities and capabilities for. We're just getting on and doing our everyday stuff. Using, there's a lovely metaphor. It doesn't quite work this way, but it's a lovely metaphor that speaks about this thing is like a hard drive, stored information. And when we're in a closed mindset, when we're in this, what we call beta, our brain is working at its fastest speed. Its RAM is humming. It's fizzing. And we're just using what we already know to get the things in front of us done in the way we always do them. Creativity is not about that, is it? It's about opening up to something new, to have a new thought or idea that could create new value. New. It's different from what we do every day. It's coming up with something new. So the first step of how we do that, is to start thinking curiously. Because to be curious is to be open to the world. So, in that closed frame of mind, we're not necessarily taking in the new data, the new stimulus, the new inspiration that is available to us in the world. We're just doing what we're doing, almost with a closed mindset to just get the things in front of us done. When we open to the world, when we are available and in a slightly different state, what we call alpha, the place that when you're slightly in a daydreaming mind, when you open, you then are open to the world to receive that new stimulus, to be curious, to look at something, to observe something anew. And what you're not doing when you're observing that new thing is in no way do you have that judgmental, analytical, convergent, coalescing down to the single right answer. You haven't got that mindset on. That's a closed mindset. What you are is non-judgmental. You're open to the new. You're curious about the new, you're interested, you're actively participating in being open-minded to whatever it is you're receiving. So we talk about things can stimulate our creativity, can inspire our creativity, can feed our creativity. So what does that look like? Well, it looks like what we see in the world, the visual stimulus of images, the visual stimulus we see on screen, watching Netflix, Disney+, blah, 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 whatever it is, reading magazines. Being in the world and being visually stimulated. Being curious is to be audibly stimulated. The things we hear, the things we read, the noises that are around us in the world, overhearing conversations, or overreading something you see in front of you. Or we can be kinesthetically stimulated, the things we do. So, curiosity opens us to our creativity to be able to receive and take in that new stimulus. That new stimulus feeds our deep creativity, because it's a raw resource. In terms of being strategic with our curiosity, because we're interested in performative curiosity, let's say, there's a whole other aspect to curiosity which we might come to on part 2, which is about nurturing our mental health and well-being, about the curiosity of ourselves and what's going on deep within us. But let's say we're at work, we're on enterprise projects, we're tasked with solving a problem, we're innovating a new solution. Creativity is your first port of call to start to be strategic around the things that you want to be curious about. So the world that surrounds the nature of the project. Let's say, so for instance, I said I have been working in healthy aging and have been working in ingredients. What am I interested in from a curious point of view if I take that as an example? Well, I'm interested in connecting with my audiences. I'm interested in observing what they're doing and how they're living and the products and services that might play a role in their lives to help them live as well as they can as they age. Let's say that's 70 plus. Where am I going to go to be curious? I'm going to go and connect in aged care, in lifestyles, in parks, in watching, I know there's a behavior, and my kid's grandmother does this, is that she goes for walks or goes to the gym early in the morning, and then there's the mid-morning coffee where all of her and her mates gather after the exercise, after the morning walk, etc., and they have their morning coffee, which I might just have a little slurp of now. Mr. Mullen's Cafe. My good friend John in Kingston, London. So you can start to be curious about the audience that you're going to be innovating for and start to do and live and feel and experience the way they're living their lives, to be really curious about the role that different products and services and their emotional state and the way they're thinking and what they're doing and all of that fantastic stuff that can be the insight to start that you can learn about this audience and feed your curiosity to start that process of stimulating your creativity in that direction. So you can be strategically curious around your project, map the domain of your project, both near in, literally what it's about, and also the systemic view of that project, and be curious about that stuff. Read it, listen to it, watch it, experience it, do it, eat it, feel it, all of that kind of stuff. That's strategic curiosity, feeding for a particular project. And then for our broader creativity, you want to be constantly, every day, using your capacity for curiosity and feeding your creativity in a more general way. So I am wildly curious about why people do what they do in the world, and I'm interested in the world. I love this idea of global citizenship or being a member of the world and understanding what's going on, so that every day I am feeding and being curious about what's happening in the world, what has happened in the world, what's happening now, and what that might suggest might happen in the future. Curiosity is the behavior of the way of me thinking, the way of me applying, and the way that you can see me being curious every day to feed my general creativity, such that I have stimulus that will make disparate connections across a wide, breadth of stimulus that might inspire breakthrough thoughts and ideas that I could never come up with if I was only in a very thin domain and feeding myself a very narrow take on curious stimulus. So I listen to podcasts from all around the world. Obviously, I speak English, so I'm more about the Western world, but, I follow in the UK, I follow in the US, I listen to some stuff out of Asia and Australia. Podcasts are my go-to everyday thing because I love walking. I know walking's really important for my own. It's 50 plus thriving. And so, I've got and we've got the dog, and I take the dog every day. I do a minimum an hour every day listening to a podcast, knowing that I'm feeding my creativity, being curious in that way. I subscribe to newsletters, right? So all the things I'm really interested in, you'll find most sites that you're interested in, they'll have a newsletter feed where every week, once a week, twice a week, they will send you a summary of what they're up to that you can easily scan on email. That is feeding your curiosity. It's being curious about what you're interested in. And they're telling you both what they're doing, but they also often grab something that they're curious about in the world. And so you've got really a disparate view and a snapshot of wildly different things. So I get one of those almost every day, almost every couple of days. I generally am having 2 to 3 to 4 coffees with a really diverse set of people every week. And for the purposes of, yes, there might be some future work in it, but we're just swapping ideas, learning what they're up to. I'm sharing what I'm up to. And in that curious connection with each other and being really open-minded to where that conversation could go, I know I'm feeding my creativity, and it's fascinating that example this morning is exactly that sort of thing, bumping into someone, activating that curious. So now I'm not just thinking, that's really interesting, she's got aging on there. I'm actually being it by opening up, being vulnerable, being really open to an experience, saying, hey, I saw that, really apologize, wasn't reading your screen, but why'd you have aging up there? Because it turns out I'm interested in aging and do it for work. And so led an amazing conversation that roamed from her global journalism, a TV show she'd worked on, setting up a yoga practice in LA, coming down to New Zealand, setting up down here. Really interesting. And so then you can set up these, there's different ways of doing it, but in terms of mastering that art, start to be really strategic, number one, around your own curiosity. In our BIF People program that we have a free introduction to, so you can go online and sign up and take that free introduction. I'm sure I talk about curiosity in it. You can take our e-learning program for a cheaper version, or you can sign up and do it with me, generally more for enterprises or big groups, but there's resources there. Our number one program in those 10 behaviors of becoming a confident, creative innovator, whatever it is and however that applies for you, what we call an ideas person, armed and tooled with the knowledge of how your creativity applies with others to go ahead and drive new value wherever you find yourself. The number one behavior in that program is curiosity. Learning, again, to be curious. And it's the relearning that's really important. A few things to say about that. Most people, their capacity for curiosity has atrophied. They no longer believe in its value because they've stopped being curious at some point. Generally happens in your early 20s. Yes, they're still learning a little bit on the job, but they're mostly trading in a transactional way the things they've already learned to do and do really well as a value exchange in their job, in their employment, in their business, whatever that goes and looks like, and the way they earn their crust. The capacity for natural, innate curiosity has atrophied because it's almost like the business no longer calls for that kind of new value. So we talk about, when we're taking people through this, that number one, it starts with you and your curiosity. No one else can be responsible for you re-educating yourself on the value of you being a curious person. Only you can do that. Only you can start to feed your creativity. You have to first learn how you get into this alpha space. What is it for you that engenders that feeling of being creative, that slows you out of that beta mindset and opens you to your own alpha space? That opens you to that space. What is it, those things that you can do that engender a feeling that you're going to be curious? That's number one. You have to learn that and learn it so that you can anchor it and use it. Meaning that when you set up a new daily practice, and these are some of the small hurdles you have to get over to start to be a creative person again. The reasons, the drivers to do it is because if you can become that creative person again, you are going to be in the top 10 to 15% of talent in the world that people are searching for right now, right? So if you open to that space, you set up a new daily practice that every day I'm going to feed my curiosity. I'm either going to feed it around, specifically, strategically around the projects I'm working on, or I'm going to feed it in a general way. How do I do that? I can set up a daily time when I do that. That might be on my commute to work in the morning. I'll listen to a podcast. Great. That's a great way to start. It might be at lunchtime, the break, going for a walk outside and not just doing the normal things I do. Take a walk with someone else and explore some part of stuff you've heard or seen or read or experienced. See what they say. Start to be curious about them as a person. This really comes to life when we're doing insight work on projects. And it's not just about the quant insight, the data we're looking for. It's the human experience and insight that you have to open to and be really curious about to start to learn something new. The stimulus of it's the same as what I know, it confirms it. Oh, it's a bit different, right? It's different to what I thought they did. Oh, it's really out there. It's an outlier behavior. That's when it starts to get really interesting. This curiosity of the outlier behaviors and why is that and what does that mean and how can it feed our creativity to go and apply in our project. So you have to start, sorry to say, you have to start with a new behavior and a new discipline of you relearning how to think curious. So you have to open to your creativity. You do the curious things. So sign up to the emails, make the time to be curious again. Use the patterns and routines of behavior that you're doing every day to hack them to make that a moment to feed your creativity, to be curious, and then such that you can be it. Be in that space, sink into the stimulus, use the voice in your ear, the thing that you're watching, the thing that you're reading, the thing that you're experiencing. Use it with an open mindset, no judgment, no analysis, no critiquing. You're just open to receiving that, knowing that you're feeding your creativity. Trust me, start doing that. Your thoughts and ideas will start to come to you. Because this is the great thing about curiosity, when you open to new stimulus and you start to receive it from the world, knowingly feeding your creativity, you're not only open to the outer world, you're also opening to your inner world. So as you're taking in that stimulus and inspiration, being curious, so too in those moments will new thoughts and ideas start to surface, because you're also opening to your deeper creativity. So what you'll find will happen, I can tell you this, promise you this right now, promise you this, is that when you're listening to a podcast, you'll be listening to it, and then you'll start to daydream off, because you'll start to have thoughts and ideas, because that stimulus is connecting to whatever is inside of you, the deep resource that you've opened to, making new connections. Suddenly you're starting having thoughts and ideas. Pause it. I'm going like that because you don't always go click on the headphones. Pause it, grab it, note it in your phone, audio record it, capture that thought or idea when you have it. That's the magic of curiosity working for you. So it is an art, and the reason it's an art is because it's an expression of your creativity. Mastering it is a practice, is designing for yourself those new moments, those new behaviors, those new patterns, to make time for curiosity every day, for you to think, do, and be curious, and do it on a daily basis. Do it generally, do it strategically, however you do it. And you'll start to notice that suddenly your capacity, that atrophied capacity for the thoughts and ideas that can come to you, start coming to you, and they are better. The last thing to say about this, and the reason we do this, is a lot of our work is about helping adults start to reconnect with this innate capacity, and curiosity is a gateway for it. It's one of the first behaviors of creativity, and develop new confidence in it, that they can do it, and they are creative people, and they are having thoughts and ideas in whatever way is right for them, that they can collaborate around through innovation process, right? That's the first thing. So it's reigniting that dormant or atrophied. You know what I mean by atrophied? An atrophied muscle loses its strength, its flexibility, its mass. Same thing happens with our creativity if we're not feeding it by being curious. It atrophies. It's thin. We no longer believe that we're a creative person. We don't identify that way, that we are someone who has fresh thoughts and ideas. It atrophies. It gets very thin, and then it gets very dull, and then it gets very dormant. We no longer hear the thoughts and ideas we are having. We become closed to them. We become closed to our inner creativity. And in this new world we're fast moving and transitioning into, the demands on us to be creative every day is going to require a new kind of curiosity. To be very curious about the impacts of AI and automation and robotics and what it's doing, and how we can mitigate for some of those, but all the new opportunities that are going to surface, because so much of what we used to do is going to be automated. It's going to free up and add new value and differentiated kinds of value to all these other human opportunities that if you're a creative person, you know how to grab and create new value from. So the last thing to say is all of this that I've been riffing on is really important, because as we said, for adults, they get developed out of this innate capacity. We have to train them back to it, build new capabilities to do it again. For the younger generations, we just want to start educating and developing them into this innate capacity. So that's why we have, BIF for adults, and we have BIF for kids, better ideas faster by kids. So lots of our work and things that we're really passionate about is translating all of this adult knowledge, let's say, and innovation capabilities and creative capacities, and translating them into our BIF for kids work, so that we no longer educate our kids out of their wild imaginations, their innate capacity just to solve problems through crazy out there wild ideas, and through their teens and their transition into adulthood, so that by the time they get to 15, the data says that almost something like 88% of them has lost touch with that innate capacity. And by the time they're adults, 18, 20, only 2% of them confidently identify or score as creative genius. So we need to fix that and solve that, because the world they're developing into, if we're worried about AI now and the impacts of robotics and automation, what is it going to be like for this next generation coming through? So lots of our work is about translating our creative behaviors. So curiosity, the capacity to be curious about the world and then empathize with it, empathy that drives new insight, that they can collaborate and BIF to start to have their ideas and collaborate and make happen. And then the resilience that we get them to present and confidently present their ideas and know that some will fail. Doesn't matter. You can then keep creating to make it work. That all starts even for our youngest coming through, primary school years, middle school, and then into more senior school, learning to actually innovate. That too starts with retaining their capacity for innate curiosity, to stay curious about the world and the changes that are happening in their world and their role in it. So lots of our work is about exactly everything we've talked about now, helping give you back this capacity to master the art of your own curiosity. We're actively doing that to nurture our kids into it. So that's a quick introduction to BIF and how to master the art of your own curiosity. And as we always finish with, in terms of curiosity relates to, our tech platform, in terms of how we talk about this belief that we should always be learning every day and trading those learnings forward that we can apply and then do new learnings tomorrow. And we're building such that you can grab these behaviors and go be brilliant. Cheers.